Millions of Christians throughout the world, Your Imperial Majesty, will regard you as the reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
All right, why is the 66 books of the Metaphysics, like Edamari Haile Selassie in 1961-62, released to the West? Why is that what we need at this preliminary stage and not the 81 books? First of all, I don't want to discourage you about the 81 books, the 81 books of the Ethiopian canon. Very important. This is the canon of books that was chosen by the early church to basically codify and to authorize what are the books that the Rit'it Haymanot, or the correct faith, which later on has become known as the so-called Orthodox faith, Tawahid Christian Namalet, stand on. Those 81 books are important, but let's understand the difference between the 66 books and the 81 books. People say, well, the 66 books, isn't that just the King James Version? I got the King James Version. People say, I've been reading the King James Version. But every Rastafari from the origination manifestation of Rastafari in the Western Hemisphere, now you have to note this, was reading the King James Version of the Bible. They were not reading the Apocrypha and the Pseudepigrapha. Now, from reading the King James Version and studying about Ethiopia and learning about the 81 books and the additional 15, if you count it like that, some may count as 18 books, but the individual titles, whether it's Isra Sutuel or whether it's Isra Kali'it, you understand? It still Isra. It's Metaphe Isra. Whether it's Mekabiyana Kedamawi or Mekabiyana Kali'it or what Mekabiyana Shalis, it's still Mekabiyan, it's still Maccabees. Another interesting note is that the Maccabees of the Ethiopic, you understand, and of the Eastern Orthodox churches is different than the Maccabees, than the book of Maccabees of the Western Catholicos or Catholic churches. So when we speak about the Maccabees, the important thing is to understand, what does Maccabee mean? See, if you don't understand what Maccabee mean, who was Maccabeus, what was the time and the period of Maccabee, you know what I'm saying, then you're talking something you don't understand. So there's a lot of ones who are saying, well, I want to get the 81 books, I want to get the full truth. But what does Edamari Haile Selassie teach us? You understand? What did he disclose to us in the plain, unorthodox truth of Edamari Haile Selassie's Wengel, of his Mishrach, of his Bisrach, of his good news? What did His Imperial Majesty disclose to us in that Lutheran interview? Have you heard that Lutheran interview? Have you read the Lutheran interview of His Imperial Majesty? Have you studied the Lutheran interview? It's very important. You could go onto Wikipedia. You understand? They have a transcript of that Lutheran interview. You can look it up, Lutheran interview Selassie, and you should be able to find it. If you Google it, you can go on the internet. You can go to our website, our Ethiopian World Net channel, and you can find the plain, unorthodox truth, the Haile Selassie the First good news, the gospel. You can go to our brother Jay Baylor, who's the one who originally put it together in that particular video format. You can look up Lutheran interview or Christmas interview of Haile Selassie, and you can listen to it. But you need to study it. You need to really understand how His Imperial Majesty seeks to simplify for us, you understand, outside of church denomination. When they ask him about his church, you understand, he says the church is not the building. He does not limit himself to one denomination or the next. So you hear a lot of like Orthodox folks talking about, well, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie was an Orthodox Christian, belonged to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, therefore you should as well. Rastafari Simu. Listen, His Imperial Majesty discloses to us, you understand, what the foundation for I as a Rastafari.
Millions of Christians throughout the world, Your Imperial Majesty, will regard you as the reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
Right, why is the 66 books of the Met Af Kedus, like Edema we Haile Selassie